Okay, so now to continue our training session, the next webinar, what we have is the assignments that we have given, a scenario-based assignments that we have given on the front office and housekeeping module, for which I have my trainer called Pallavi. So she will be the one who will be walking you through the webinar on the scenario-based assignments. Okay, so Pallavi.
Screen is visible to all?
Yes, Pallavi, yeah.
Okay, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pallavi, and I will be taking you through the scenario-based assignments of front desk and housekeeping. Now, the screen that you see in front of you is the screen of our LMS account. Now, by now, you all must be having an access to this, and you must have also seen all the videos mentioned here. So once all the videos have been seen, that is when you will have the access for the scenario-based questions. So we'll first begin with the front desk scenarios. All right. Now, all these scenarios that I will be taking you through, the same scenarios have been created in your accounts. So you will be able to practice them once the webinar is over. So let's start. So this is scenario number 1. So I'll be reading out the scenario to you, and then I will show you how to perform the same thing in the system. So the first scenario objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to learn and perform the following, which is look up the reservation, assign a unit, marking unit as checked in, understanding unit details, usage of property layout. So this is how the scenario goes. It says, Mr. John reserved a 3-bedroom for 3 nights. His pre-check-in information needs to be verified. He's checked into unit W1405. He needs to know the block and the floor to locate his unit, and he would prefer to take the stairs. Find the above information requested by the guest to guide him accordingly. So as you can see out here, it says that there is a guest, Mr. John, who's reserved for a 3-bedroom for 3 nights. Now we need to verify his pre-check-in information. So let's break the scenario into smaller pieces and let me show you how to perform the same in the system. So first of all, we will look for Mr. John's reservation on our front desk screen. So here, now in order to look for John's reservation, you can either use the search option here, or if you can locate the guest directly on the screen, you can do it from here as well. Now we know that he's booked for a 3-bedroom apartment. So this is where his reservation is, John. Now the next part of the scenario says that we need to check his information. His pre-check-in information needs to be verified. Now, in order to verify his pre-check-in information, on the left-hand side, under room operations, you will have the link which says pre-check-in checkout. Just click on this. Here you can, yes.
So can we go a little more slow? Because I think many users are reporting that the screen is not syncing with the actual audio. So can we go a bit slow?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So since we know the name of the guest, which is John, so we can just type his name here and click on search. So when we click on search, we will see his name here and the information is all mentioned here. If you click on view details, whatever information has been shared by the guest will be visible here. Now, a detailed session on pre-check-in will be conducted when you have the training session on the guest service module. So I'll just give you a brief about once the information syncs, this is the place from where you will be able to verify it. So the guest details will be mentioned here. Any ID proof that has been shared will be mentioned here. Guest work area details, any health declaration that has been disclosed will be mentioned here, and the signature will be visible here. So this is how we will be able to verify the pre-check-in information of the guest. Krishna, I hope that is fine.
Yeah, I think this should be fine. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Now the next part of the scenario says that he is checked into unit W1405. So on the front desk, like I said, you can use the search option to locate the guest, or if you already can see the reservation on the screen, then you can just see the reservation directly on the screen. Now it says this, that he is checked into unit W1405. But as you can see right now, the unit assigned is W1404. So let's move him to unit W1405. Now, in order to move this reservation, you just have to right click, use the option of move special, select the unit type where you wish to move him, which is a 3-bedroom apartment, and select the unit from the drop-down box. We need to assign him 1405. So let's look for the reservation here, which is this, and just click on move. When you click on the option of move, the system will ask you, do you wish to assign the unit? We'll say, okay. And now you will notice that the reservation has moved to unit W1405. You will also notice the symbol A behind the name, which indicates that it's a assigned reservation. The next part says that he needs to know the block and the floor to locate his unit. In order to locate where this unit is located, all you have to do is just click on the unit number. And here the system will tell you which floor, which block is this particular unit located on. It also says that he would prefer to take the stairs. Now, in order to find out the location of the stairs, all you have to do, on the left-hand side, there is an option given, which says property layout. Just click on this and you will be able to see the layout of the property along with the staircase location. Now, let me also do a check-in for this guest. In order to do a check-in for this guest, we just have to right-click and use the option of check-in. And this is the check-in card that will open. And like this, you will be able to do a check-in. Once you do a check-in, you will notice that the color coding has changed from blue to green. So the green indicates that now the reservation has checked in. All right, now that we are done with the scenario, the next thing that you have to do is make sure that you mention in the comment section that this has been completed. And click on submit. That is when you will be able to proceed to the next scenario, which is number 2. Now, the objective of this scenario is that after completing this task, the user would be able to learn and perform the following. That is, look up the reservation, adding alert at the time of check-in, add a message and mark delivered, marking the alert as done, mark check-in, add preference. Now the scenario goes like this. Mr. George calls the property. He booked a 3-bedroom from 1st September. The manager needs to meet Mr. George on arrival. A parcel also gets delivered for Mr. George from Mr. Dawn with a message to call back once he gets it. Check in Mr. George and ensure that the above happens correctly. Now let's again break this scenario down into smaller parts. First of all, let's look for George's reservation on the front desk. As we can see, he's booked for a 3-bedroom. So we'll scroll down to the 3-bedroom category, either use the search option, or if you can locate the guest, we can do it directly from the screen here. So this is the reservation here. Now it also says that the next part of the scenario says that the manager needs to meet Mr. George on arrival. Right. So now in this case, when we need to take down a message or an alert in the system, all we have to do is just right click. You will see the option of message/task here. Click on this. Now the scenario says that the manager needs to meet this guest on check-in. So we'll switch to task, select your work area as front desk, because when you select the work area as front desk, that is when the option of alert will come up. Now, when you click on alert, you will have the option to set up an alert for 4 areas. One is on check-in, checkout, on access, on payment. The rest are self-explanatory. But when we say on access, it means whenever somebody opens this reservation, the alert will pop up. So let's go back to the scenario. It says the manager needs to meet Mr. George. So we can just copy this. And here in the task, we can just paste it here. and select our alert for check-in. And once we are done with this, we can click on the option of OK. And now this will be set for check-in. Now the next part of the scenario says that a parcel also gets delivered for Mr. George from Mr. Don with a message to call back once he gets this. Now, the same information I could have added to alert as well. So you can use the alert option, or you can also use the message option that we have in our system. Let me show you how we can set it up as a message. Same process. We will look for George Rick's reservation. Just right click, use the option of message here. Now I will not switch to task. I will let it be message. The message is for which guest? We can select that. Whatever is the message, you can just copy it or type it as per convenience and click on OK. So we have set up an alert also, and we have set up a message also for this reservation. Then it says, check in Mr. George and ensure the above happens correctly. Like mentioned earlier, check-in is very easy. Just right click, use the option of check-in. So as soon as I click on check-in, you will notice that the alert that I had set up in the system, which says the manager needs to meet the guest. Please allow me a minute. All right, sorry. So let's continue from where we had left. So as you can see on my screen here, the alert that we had set up that the manager needs to meet Mr. George has come up now because we are performing the check-in. So let's click on continue to check-in. So the check-in card has also opened. We can take a printout of this if required. Otherwise, we can close this. Now, right in front of this reservation here, you will notice an envelope, right? This envelope will get activated once you do a check-in, because this envelope indicates that there is a message in the room. So all we need to do is just click on this message and the parcel information can be informed to the guest. And once this message is done, we can change the status from pending to delivered and then click on save. And the envelope will vanish because the message is delivered. Till the time the message is not delivered, the envelope will keep reflecting there. And please remember, this envelope will only come up for those reservations which is checked in. So once we are done with this scenario, we will again click on completed and mention it here and click on submit. Once we are done with that, then we can move on to scenario number 3. The objective of this scenario is that after completing this task, the user will be able to look up for guest, mark check-in, cancel check-in, adding other guest details, and assign a unit. Now, there is a beforehand task mentioned here, which says, please assign Mr. Matt reserved on triple occupancy, which is 2 adults and 1 child, for 4 nights under 3 bedroom to unit W203. And Mr. Jake Oliver reserved on triple occupancy, which is 2 adults and 1 child, for 4 nights under a 3 bedroom category to unit W204. So let's first perform the beforehand task before we move on with the remaining part of the scenario. So it says, Mr. Matt. So we're going to first look for his reservation on the front desk. Now he's booked for a 3-bedroom unit. All right. So once we have located Mr. Matt's reservation on the screen, we need to move this guest to unit W203. All we have to do is right-click, like shown earlier, click on the option of Move Special. Once this Move Special screen opens, select the unit type, which is a 3-bedroom apartment. Then from the Select Unit section, select W203 because that is the unit where we need to move the guest. And then click on Move. Do you wish to assign the unit? Click on OK so that the unit gets assigned. Right, so this was the first beforehand task. The second one was for Mr. Jake Oliver, like it's mentioned here. So let's look for his reservation also and move him to unit W204. Like mentioned earlier, you can always use the search option, but if you can see the guest directly on the screen like I can, just right-click, use the option of Move Special. Again, select the unit type, which is a 3-bedroom apartment, and select the unit from the drop-down box. We need to move this guest to W204. So I'll just quickly look for W204, which is here, and click on Move. Do you wish to assign the unit? Okay. Now both the units are located in their respective units. It also says check in W204. So in order to check in the reservation, just right-click and use the option of check-in. And the reservation has checked in. Now let's go back to the scenario and see what it says. The next part of the scenario says that Mr. Matt was assigned unit W203 in 3-bedroom category, but HSP staff checked in Mr. Jake by mistake, who is in unit W204. How will you correct the same? While checking in, Mr. Matt would like to provide the details of the other 2 guests staying with him in the same unit. How do you manage the same? The primary guest details are Mr. Matt, Mr. Ben, and Miss Allen are the sharer and the child. The arrival details are 1st September to 5th of September. So let's first of all look for this reservation in the system. So this was Mr. Matt's reservation here. Now, as per the scenario, let's break this down into smaller parts. It says that by mistake, the HSP staff checked in Mr. Jake by mistake to unit W204, though we were supposed to check Mr. Matt into unit W203. So if you remember just a few minutes back, I had done a check-in for unit W204, which was basically incorrect. Now, in order to rectify the wrong check-in, you can just right-click and use the option in the drop-down section which says cancel check-in. So we'll click on this. The system will say, do you wish to unassign the reservation? We will click on OK. And the reservation will go back to where it was earlier. So we were actually supposed to do a check-in for unit W203. So we will just right-click and use the option of check-in. And now the check-in is done. And the color coding has also changed. Now the next part of the scenario also says that Mr. Matt would like to provide the details of the other 2 guests. Now, information about the other sharers who will be staying in the room can be added in the system through the pre-check-in form, which was initially shared with the guest. Though we would recommend that the guest share or fill in the details using that link, but it can also be done manually in the system by just right-clicking, using the option of View Details. In order to make any changes here, just click on Enable Editing. Now, the guest is Mr. Matt. So if in case we want to add sharers who will be staying with Mr. Matt, all we have to do is just click on his name. The screen will open here, and from here under Manage Sharers, we can enter the details of the people who will be sharing a room with him. Like I mentioned earlier, we would recommend that the pre-check-in form is used, but it can be done like this manually also. Right, so once we are done with this scenario, again, we will just use the option of completed. Submit this, and then we will be able to move on to our next scenario. Now, the next scenario is number 4. The objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to learn and perform the following, which is look up for guest, mark check-in, add a message and mark delivered, set alert on access. The scenario goes like this. Mr. Jack has a reservation for a 4-bedroom for 3 nights. He needs to check in 2 hours early before the check-in time. How would you manage this? Further, Jack is expecting a friend named Kelly. He needs to be informed once Kelly arrives. Make the required entries to manage this. Now, in this case, it says that Mr. Jack is booked for a 4-bedroom for 3 nights. Now, he needs to check in early. Please remember this, that in our system, there is no separate option for an early check-in. So whether the guest is checking in early or coming on time, the option that we will use will be the same, which is right-click and just use the option of check-in, irrespective of the fact that the guest is coming early. All right, so first let's go and locate this reservation in our system, which is Mr. Jack for a 4-bedroom apartment. Right, so this is his reservation here. Now he needs to check in early. So like I said, there is no difference. We will just right click and use the option of check-in. And the guest check-in will be done in the system. The next part of the scenario says that he's expecting a friend named Kelly, and he needs to be informed once Kelly arrives. Now, this information can be taken down as an alert. It can be taken down as a message, but I'm going to show you how to set this up as an alert for on access. So we will go back to our front desk, locate the guest on the screen, right click, like mentioned earlier, click on message task. From here, switch to task and select your work area as front desk, because the option of alert will only come up if the work area selection is front desk. We will enter what task it is. Or message it is, we can mention it here. Click on alert, and now we will use the option of on access, which means whenever somebody accesses this reservation, the alert must pop up. All right. So this is how we can set it up in the system. So now when somebody goes to the reservation and clicks on this particular guest, the alert will come up because we have set the alert for access, which means anybody who opens the reservation, the alert will be visible to them. So once this is done, we will again use the option of complete and move on to the next scenario, which is number 5. Now, the objective of this scenario is that after completing this task, the user will be able to check in guest, verify guest details, adding baby cot, how to track it. Now, as you can see, there is also a beforehand task here, which says, please check in Mrs. Maria and Mr. Kevin in unit W205 under a 3-bedroom category. So let's first do the beforehand task before we move on with the remaining part of the scenario. So we need to look for Maria, who's booked in a 3-bedroom category. Right. So this is her reservation here in W1306. But as per our scenario, it says that we need to check her into W205. So we'll just right click, again, use the option of move special. Select the unit. Now we know that she's booked for a 3-bedroom category. So we're going to use the option of 3-bedroom. Under the unit section, we will select the unit, which is W205. Right, so I'm just going to quickly look for 205 and click on move, which will also assign the room to this particular guest. Now, the next part of the scenario says, okay, it says that they require a baby cot since they are traveling with their baby. So in this case, whenever you want to add a baby cot in a room, it's very simple. We will just click on the option of right click, use the option of view details. Okay, so we also need to check in the guest. So I'll just quickly do a check-in here. Once the check-in is done, we will right click, use the option of view details. Click on enable editing whenever you want to make any changes. Now, since we need to enter baby cot information, we will just scroll down, click on Maria's name. Now you will be able to see that there is a section here for baby cot. So if the guest requires a baby cot, just click on the drop down and enter the baby cot information here. Now, please remember that whenever you select baby cot option from here, it gets applied for the entire stay. But if the guest does not need it for the entire stay, use the option of edit and select your date range. Once this is done and you have added the baby cot information, make sure to click on back to group and save the changes that you have made. Now, this baby cot that we have entered, the same information can be viewed in our reports also. So on the left-hand side, under room operations, you have 2 reports here. One is check-in list, the other one is checkout list. So if you click on check-in list or checkout, I'll show you how to see it in one of them. Right? This will show you a detail of all those guests who are checking in and also if they have any baby cot requirement. On the right-hand side, there is a filter available. Just click on that and it will show you those units that have requested for a baby cot. A printout of the same can also be taken. Right. So once we have completed this scenario, we will just click on complete, submit your answer and proceed to the next scenario, which is number 6. Now, the objective of this scenario is that after completing this task, the user will be able to look up the reservation, see the status of the reservation to confirm, how to view the number of guests booked, check property information, add arrival information on the reservation, add notes and preferences. And the scenario goes like this. It says that Mr. David has booked a 2-bedroom unit on double occupancy. He's expected to check in today. He calls to check if there is a metro access near the property. How do you check and confirm the same? Also, he will arrive late due to flight delay. How do you make a note of the same in the booking? So first of all, let's locate his reservation on the front desk. Now it says that Mr. David is booked for a 2-bedroom unit and he's expected to check in today. And he wants to know about the metro access. So let me show you how we can find out about the metro accessibility from the property. Now, as you can see, this guest is booked for a 2-bedroom apartment here. Now he wants to know about the accessibility of the metro. So on the left hand side, out here, you will have the property logo once the hotel is live, property is live. So you can just click on this and it will give you all the details about the property. It would also show you the metro accessibility. Now, unfortunately, there isn't one close by, but had there been one, you would have been able to see the information right here. All right, so we've completed this part of it. The next part says that he will be arriving late today. His flight will be delayed and we need to make a note of the same. So let me show you how we can record this information in our system. So this is the reservation of the guest, Mr. David. Just right click, use the option of view details. Click on enable editing to make any changes. Now, in order to record any requirements or any information about the guest, just click on the guest name. Now his flight will be delayed. So we can just record this in our system. Right here, there is a section where we can record this information. And also, if we had the arrival departure details of the guest, we could have mentioned the same under this section here where it says arrival or departure. So whatever information we have, it could have been entered here. Once you have saved this, recorded this, just click on back to group and make sure that you click on save to record this information. Now, this information that we have taken down can be viewed by just clicking on the reservation. In the preference section, we will be able to see that the guest will be late, flight will be delayed. So this is one place where we could have viewed this information, or under room operation, if you go to check-in list, the same information will reflect here as well for all the other guests also who are checking in. So once the scenario is done, we will click on completed and click on submit. Okay, so moving on to scenario number 7. The objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to look up the group reservation for a particular unit type, look up for unit features, assigning the unit feature to a reservation, reassign unit, marking unit as check-in. Right, so the scenario goes like this. 2 3-bedroom units are booked under one reference ID. The guest names are Alex and Mr. Randy. They arrive at the front desk to check in. They request a unit with a bathtub and would prefer a city view. They are assigned a unit that is not inspected. What happens when you check them into their assigned units? All right. So first of all, let's locate these guests and check whether are they under the same reference ID or not. So the guest names are Alex and Randy, booked for a 3-bedroom. Okay, so we've got Alex and Randy here. I will just right click, use the option of view details, click on enable editing. And now out here, as we can see that there is Alex and there is Randy, and they are booked under the same reference ID. Now, the next part of the scenario also says that they request a unit with a bathtub and they prefer a city view. Now, whenever a guest has certain preferences in terms of view or in terms of any particular feature in the room, so we can easily filter that by just scrolling down. Select the units for which you wish to apply the filter. There is a funnel option given right here. You just need to click, select whatever is the requirement of the guest. Once you've clicked on it, just click on, just give me a minute. right? Just click on search. The system will filter and show you the results here, which says 63 out of 100 rooms match our requirement. So we'll close this. Now, when you click on the unit section here to select the units, the system will only show you those units which match our requirement. And as soon as the feature option is applied, the symbol here, the icon here is I, indicates that we have applied that filter, and click on save. Now, since it says that they are assigned a unit that is not inspected, that is the reason out here I had selected the dirty units, and now we'll click on save. Right. Now, as you can see, these units are dirty, right? So please remember this, that units can only be checked in into inspected rooms. We cannot do a check-in into dirty rooms. So as you can see, we will not be able to do a check-in here. It says they're not inspected, right? So you'll have to again go back inside the reservation, click on enable editing. We will reapply the filters, but before that, we need to select the units again and use the option of the funnel, select the bathtub and the city view requirement of the guest. And then while you're selecting the units, make sure that you select only the inspected units. So once the scenario is done, we will click on completed and move on to the next part. The next scenario is number 8. The objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to learn and perform the following, which is look up the guest using name and number, verify the pre-check-in details, marking unit as check-in, modify the guest details. The scenario goes like this. It says, Mr. Robin arrives without his booking details or voucher number. How do you check him in? He needs to complete pre-check-in. How do you manage the scenario? And after check-in, Mr. Robin requests to change the phone number from this to this. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you can search for a reservation using the first name or voucher number or the phone number as well. So let me first of all locate this guest on the front desk, and then I will explain the remaining scenario to you. So we'll just copy this here, enter the information, the phone number in the search box, and this is his reservation. Now, ideally, like I mentioned, the pre-check-in information needs to be filled through the pre-check-in form, or we can also use the QR code. Now, the QR scanner will be available at the front desk. So what the guest needs to do is they need to scan the code. Once they scan the QR code, an OTP will be generated. That OTP needs to be shared with the reception person of the property, and that OTP needs to be entered here. Now, a detailed session on the QR code will be given to you when the training session happens on the guest service module, but I'll just give you a gist of it. So once the code, the OTP is shared by the guest to the hotel receptionist, it can be entered here. And as soon as the OTP is entered, the pre-check-in form will open on the guest phone itself. And from there, the guest can complete the pre-check-in formalities. Now, moving on to the next part of the same scenario, it says that after check-in, Robin requests to change the phone number from this to this. So all we have to do is we have already opened the reservation. We can just click on add edit detail. Now we need to change the phone number. So we can just remove the old phone number. And this is the new number that we need to update. So we'll update this here and save. One more thing, if the guest is getting their phone number changed, we can take a written application from the guest, and the same thing can be updated here as well in upload ID if you wish to do that. And just click on back to group and make sure that you save the changes that you have just made. So once we are done with this scenario, we will click on complete and move on to the next scenario. All right, the next scenario is number 9, and the objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to look up for the group under the company name, looking up guest in the group, mark check-in for 1 unit, remove sharer from the reservation, adding the sharer, perform guest check-in. And the scenario goes like this. Mr. Kevin arrives at the front desk. He's part of a group booking with 5 units in a 3-bedroom category. This is a company booking of 5 nights in the name of Coca-Cola. Each unit shows 2 guests. Now, Mr. Kevin informs the reception that the other guest will not be coming. How do you manage the same? Also, later in the day, a guest named Mr. Frank arrives at the reception. Now, Frank has a reservation along with Mr. Kevin, and he needs to check in. How will you manage this? Now, first of all, let us go to front desk and locate the reservation and verify the details that have been mentioned here. So it is Mr. Kevin, booked for a 3-bedroom. Right, so we've got Mr. Kevin's reservation here, and let's go to the view details screen and verify this. Okay, so it says that there are 5 units. The company name is Coca-Cola, and each unit shows 2 guests. So yes, it is Coca-Cola. There are 5 units, and each of them show 2 adults. Okay, then it says that Mr. Kevin informs the reception that the other guest will not be coming. Okay, so we will just go to Kevin's reservation here, click on this. Now he has said that the person who's supposed to share this unit with him is not coming. So in that case, for the sharer, what we can do is just use the option of delete to remove him. So it's only Kevin who is checking in. So we can just click here, use the option of guest check-in. And now the guest has checked in. And this is the check-in card, right? And we will save the changes that we have made. All right. The next part of the scenario says that later in the day, a guest named Mr. Frank arrives at the reception. And Frank says that he will be checking in with Mr. Kevin. So now how will we rectify this? So we will just go back to our front desk, go back to the reservation, right click, use the option of view details, enable editing to make any changes, click on Kevin's reservation here. Now, since his sharer will be checking in, who's Mr. Frank, so we will just increase the number of adults from here, use the option of manage sharers, and type the guest name here. So it's Mr. Frank, and since we did have this guest reserved earlier, so the system automatically picked up the details. And then we'll just click on save. And now we need to check in Mr. Frank as well. So just select his reservation, use the option of guest check-in. You can either do this or you could have clicked on this hyphen here as well. So I'll just use this option here. Click on back to group and save the changes that we have made. Right. So once the scenario is done, we will just use the option of complete and move on to the next scenario. All right. Now the next scenario is scenario number 10, which says the objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to search booking with a voucher number, usage of QR code, generating GSM or guest service module. Now the scenario goes like this. Mr. Allen reserved a 4-bedroom unit for 5 nights. He arrives at the front desk to check in. He needs to complete pre-check-in, but does not have an email ID. His booking was sent by accommodation agency with a voucher number this. How will you manage this? Now, this scenario is quite similar to the one that I covered up few scenarios before. Now, again, in this case, also the guest can use the QR code and finish the pre-check-in details. So that will be covered up in a separate session with you. Right now, I will just show you how we can use the voucher number to look for the reservation. So we'll just select the voucher number, go on your front desk. In the search box here, you can enter the voucher number and the system will pick up the details of the guest. Like mentioned earlier, the QR code scanner will be available. Once the QR code scanner is used, OTP is generated, and you can just use the generate GSM option here, put the OTP, and then the guest can proceed with the pre-check-in formalities. Right. So once we are done with this scenario, we can just click on complete it and move on to the next scenario. All right. So moving on to scenario number 11. As you can see, it has a beforehand task. So let's perform the beforehand task and then we will proceed with the scenario. It says, please check in Miss Jessica, reserved for a 3-night in a 2-bedroom category with single occupancy for unit W302. So let's locate her reservation under a 3-bedroom category, Miss Jessica. So this is our 2-bedroom apartment section here. You can either use the search option, or since I can see the guest here, this is the reservation on my screen. Now it says that now we need to check her into unit W302. So the same process, just right click, use the option of move special since she's currently not located on that unit. So move special. From the unit type, select the 2-bedroom category. Select the unit as W302 like this, and then we will just click on move. The reservation will automatically get moved to unit W302. It says that please check in. So let's just perform the check-in as well. Check-in is simple, right click and use the option of check-in. Right, and now the check-in is done. Now let's see what the scenario says. It says that Miss Jessica is staying in a 2-bedroom with unit number W302. The AC is not working, so she requests for a room change. No unit is available in the same category. How will you manage this? Jessica has a reservation from the 1st of September to the 4th of September. It also says that raise a request for the maintenance department to resolve the AC issue and mark the unit as not available for 1 night. Now, since we have checked her into unit W302, there seems to be a AC problem in the room. So first of all, let's assign this task to the maintenance department before we move the guest. So in order to assign a task to the maintenance department, all we have to do is just right click. You will see the option of message task. Click on this, switch to task since we need to assign a task to the maintenance department. From here, we will select the work area as maintenance. And it says that the AC is not working. Select the service type, which is AC not working. AC not working and click on OK. And now this information will be passed on to the engineering department. The next part of the scenario says that we also need to mark this unit as DNR, but let's first move this guest to a different room. Right click, we will use the option of move special. Now, as per the scenario, there is no unit available in this category. So let's just move her to a different unit type. Select the room numbers from here and then click on move. And this guest will be moved to a different category altogether. Now, the last part of the scenario says that there is a problem with this room W302. So we need to take this room out of order. So let's go to front desk and we will go to W302. Yes, the problem was with 302. So we'll just right click and you will see the option here as DNR. So just click on this. Select the date range for how many days do you wish to remove the room for DNR. Mention what is the problem with the room and click on submit. And now this reservation will be taken out of order.
So, Pallavi, I think the room move is not successful. Can you just move a reservation again and press dinner? Yeah.
Okay, sorry. All right, so we'll just right click, use the option of move special. Select the unit from here. And just click on move. The system will ask you, do you wish to change the unit type? Click on OK. So once that is done, now we will be able to take this unit out of order. So we'll just, so it is unit W302. Just right click, use the option of DNR, select the date range, mention the comment as to what is the problem with the room, and click on submit. And this room will be taken out of order. As you can see here, it says DNR, which means do not reserve. So the color coding also has changed. And now this room will not be available for sale for 1 day. So once the scenario is done, we will click on the option of completed and move on to the next scenario, which is number 12. Now, this is a beforehand task, and the objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to learn and perform the following, which is look up the reservation, see the status of the reservation to confirm, how to view the number of guests booked, check-in and group check-in. So since there are 3 points in this scenario, let's cover this one by one. The first part says that mark check-in for Mr. Mike reserved with triple occupancy for 1 night under a 4-bedroom category. The unit number is W301. So let's first of all look for Mike's reservation on the front desk. Now he's booked for a 4-bedroom category. Right, so this is Mike's reservation here. Now it says that we need to move this guest to unit W301 and check him in. So we'll just right click, use the option of view details. Sorry. We'll go down to the 4-bedroom category here. Just right click, use the option of move special, select the unit type, and select the unit which the guest needs to be checked into, which is W301. We'll just scroll and look for the reservation 301. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, just give me a minute, sorry. Okay, it says W301. Move special. Unit is a 3-bedroom apartment, and we will select the unit here as 301. Now, surprisingly, I cannot see the unit here, so just I'll just select some other unit in this case and click on move. The next part of the scenario says that mark check-in for Mr. Martin reserved for a family of 3 in a 4-bedroom category. So let's look for Martin's reservation. Okay. The Martin's reservation is here, and we need to move this guest to unit W401. So right click, we'll use the option of move special. Select the unit type here as a 3-bedroom and select the unit here as W401. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Here, 401. So once we've selected this, we will just click on the option of move. Now, the next part of the scenario says that mark check-in for a unit, for a group of 3 units reserved for a 2-night with double occupancy. And the guest names are Mr. Harry, Mr. Michael, and Mr. Jean. Now, they are booked under a 2-bedroom category. So let's find them on the screen, and then we will assign these units to them. So a 2-bedroom category here. These are the guests. So we'll just right click, use the option of view details, click on enable editing, and let's verify the details here. It says the guests are Mr. Harry, Michael, and Jean. So yes, these are the 3 guests. It also says that we need to assign unit W1, 002, 1102, and 1202 to these guests. So just use the option of assign here. And it says assign 1002 to this guest. The next guest needs to be assigned W1102, and the next guest needs to be assigned unit 1202. So once we've assigned this, we will just click on the option of, it also says that check them in, right? So in order to check them in, we will just use the option of group check-in since all of them are checking in. So we'll just click on this. The system will ask us, do you wish to check in the group? We'll click on OK. And now all the rooms will check in the units that we have selected. So once we are done with this scenario, we will just click on completed and click on submit. Now we move on to the next scenario, which is number 13. Now this objective of the scenario is that after completing this task, the user will be able to learn and perform the following, which is look up the reservation, mark check-in, and mark no-show. The scenario goes like this. Mark check-in for Miss Kelly, reserved for a family of 3 that has 2 adults and 1 child under a 3-bedroom category. Unit W1505, arrival departure details are mentioned here, and the sharer details are also mentioned here, which is John and Steve. The next part of the scenario says, the point number 2, that Mr. John and Mr. Martin are part of a 4-unit group booked in the name of Coca-Cola in a 3-bedroom category for 5 nights. Both these guests do not show up on the day of check-in. Please mark no show. So let's do this one by one. The first part of the scenario is related to Miss Kelly, and we need to check her into unit W1505. So let's locate this reservation under a 3-bedroom category. So we've got Kelly's reservation here. We need to check her into unit W1505. So we'll right click, use the option of move special, 3-bedroom, and select the unit as 1505 and click on move. And the reservation also gets automatically assigned. The next part of the scenario says that Mr. John and Mr. Martin are part of a 5-unit group booked in the name of Coca-Cola under a 3-bedroom category. So let's look for their reservations on the screen. 3-bedroom apartment is what they are booked for. And the guest details are Mr. John and Martin. So as I can see the reservation here itself, we can just right click, use the option of view details, click on enable editing. And here we'll be able to verify the details of the guests. There is Mr. Kevin, there is Mr. Martin, and there is Mr. John. Now this says that Mr. John and Mr. Martin, who are booked through Coca-Cola for 5 nights, both these guests do not show up on the day of check-in. So whenever a guest is not coming to the property, which means that they are now no-show. So we're going to see how we can mark our guests as no-show. Now, since Mr. John and Mr. Martin are not coming, so we'll just click on Mr. John's reservation first. And here we'll see the option of mark no-show. So we'll just click on this and just click on the option of mark no-show. This will redirect us to this page and we can just close this. Similarly, we also need to do a no-show for the other guest, right? So let's just locate this guest on the screen here. 3-bedroom category, Mr. Martin. Right click, the same process, click on view details, enable editing. Now even Mr. Martin is not coming, so we'll just click on this and follow the same process that we just did, which is mark no show. Click on mark no show. The system will ask us, do you wish to no show the reservation? We'll click on OK. And like this, we will be able to do a no show for both the guests. So once the scenario is done, let me just click on completed and move on to the next scenario. So now that we have completed 13 scenarios, let's take a break of 5 minutes and then we will proceed with the remaining scenarios. Krishna, is that okay?
Yeah, Pallavi, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so I think my trainer is repeating the scenario 9 as per the request. So we have got a request to repeat scenario 9. So we'll start with that and then we'll move to the next scenarios. Okay.
Okay, all right. So I'll just repeat scenario number 9 again. The objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to learn and perform the following, which is look up for the guest under the company name, looking up guest in the group, mark check-in for 1 unit, removing a sharer from the reservation, adding the sharer, perform guest check-in. So the scenario goes like this, that Mr. Kevin arrives at the front desk. Now he is a part of a booking with 5 units in the 3-bedroom category. Now this is a company booking of 5 nights under the name of Coca-Cola, and each unit shows 2 guests. So Mr. Kevin informs the reception that the other guest will not be coming. How do you manage the same? Later in the day, a guest named Mr. Frank arrives at the reception. Frank has a reservation along with Mr. Kevin. He needs to be checked in. So how will you manage this? So first of all, let us locate Kevin's reservation, verify all the details, and then I will show you how to proceed with this. So Mr. Kevin booked for a 3-bedroom category. So 3-bedroom category, Mr. Kevin. Right. So we'll just click on right click. We'll use the option of view details, enable editing. And as you can see, yes, this corporate is Coca-Cola. They are booked for 5 nights. And these are the guests who are part of this unit. So this is the reservation that we were talking about. So let me click on this. Right. So here it says that Mr. Kevin informs the reception that the other guest will not be coming, which means Mr. Frank is not coming. So in this reservation, since we need to remove this, so basically in the scenario, what is happening is that Mr. Kevin says that Frank is not coming. So we end up deleting this guest, right? But after some time, Mr. Frank arrives and he wants to check in, right? Maybe there was some miscommunication. So now what we need to do is we need to again make Mr. Frank a part of this reservation along with Mr. Kevin. So what I'm going to do is the same reservation here. We will increase the number of adults, right? Use the option of manage sharers to enter the detail of the guest. So now since it is Mr. Frank, right? Now, because we've already made a reservation in the past for this guest, the system is automatically picking up the guest details. But if it is a different guest, then you can always enter the first name, last name, phone number again, right? So I'm selecting it from here. Now it also says that now we need to check in this guest. First of all, we will save the changes here. Now, in order to check in this guest, I've already done a check-in for Kevin earlier, but you can follow the same process here. Just select the guest name, use the option of guest check-in, and this is how you will be able to check in the sharer. Click on back to group and use the option of save to save any changes that you have made. Right? I hope that answers your question and resolves the query that you had. All right, so moving on to the scenario from where we had left, which was scenario number 14. Now, the objective of this scenario is that after completing this task, the user will be able to look for the in-house reservation, verify guest details, set alert for checkout, mark checkout, and night audit. So the scenario goes like this. Mr. Mike is in a 4-bedroom unit, number W301. He requests the staff to meet the manager at the time of checkout. How would you ensure that this happens? Please perform the above task in the system and write the comments below if necessary. So first of all, let's locate this guest. That's Mr. Mike in a 4-bedroom unit. So we have the 4-bedroom apartments below. Right, so this is Mr. Mike's reservation. Now it says that he requests the staff to meet the manager at the time of checkout. So he wants to meet the manager at the time of checkout. So in this case, also what we can do is we can use the option of alert for checkout. The same process, right click, use the option of, sorry, just give me a minute. Right, use the option of message task. And here you will be able to assign the work area as front desk. Now we need to set up an alert for checkout. So click on the alert option here. The drop-down options will open and you can select the option of checkout so that the alert comes whenever a staff performs the checkout. So we'll select this. So when I say whenever, it means the one time that you perform the checkout. Right, and this has been done. Now the next part of the scenario says that, okay, so since this alert has been set up for checkout, so we will have to perform one night audit so that the guest reaches the checkout date, which means one night audit and then the guest will be on his checkout date. So let's quickly perform the night audit. So first of all, I'll just quickly go to my admin console and see that nobody is logged into the system, because the system will take around 4 minutes time to log out all users. So in order to save those 4 minutes, I will just see if there is anybody logged in. Right, so I'll just quickly log them out. And then we can start off with the night audit process. The night audit can be done by using the option of perform night audit from here. Right, so it'll give us a list of all the check-in dues, and we can either mark them as no-show or check-in. I'll just skip the counters from here, click on continue to night audit. It says that some of the units are not inspected. So I'll just quickly abandon, return to front desk. Okay, so I need to basically have all rooms inspected. So I'll just quickly mark them all inspected. Right, and now we can start off with the night audit process. So I'll just ignore this, click on continue to night audit. And once the night audit is done, we will be able to proceed with the next day. So the system is just auditing itself and it will give us a summary of how the business was for the day. And then we'll just click on continue to work here. All right. So as you can see, now we have reached the checkout date for this particular reservation that we were working on, right? So now when we have to perform the checkout, we will just right click and use the option of. So I'll go to the view details page, click on the option of enable editing. Click on the guest, and here I will use the checkout. So whenever somebody performs a checkout for this unit, the alert that we had set up will come up here, which says he requests the staff to meet the manager at the time of checkout. So once this is done, we will just click on express checkout and the reservation will be checked out. The system will ask for a confirmation, and this is the checkout card. And with this, we'll be able to finish the scenario number 14. Moving on to our next scenario, which is number 15. The objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to learn and perform the following, which is looking for the in-house reservation, verify guest details, early checkout, cancel checkout, guest checkout. So it says the scenario goes like this, that there is a family of 3 booked from 1st September to the 9th September. They decided to cut short their stay. They request to check out early, which is on the 2nd of September. Checkout is completed, but once the checkout is done, the mother and the daughter change their mind and decide to continue their stay. How do you manage the same? The guest details are as follows, which is Mr. Martin. The sharers are Shania and Miss Helen. All right. And they are booked for a 4-bedroom unit, 4-bedroom category for unit W401. So let's first of all locate this guest in the system, which is under a 4-bedroom unit for this guest. Okay, so 4-bedroom. We'll just scroll down, or you can always use the option of search. Okay. So they are booked in unit W401 and they want to cut short their stay. So earlier they were staying for a longer period of time and now they want to check out on the 2nd itself. So this is easy to manage. We'll just right click, use the option of view details. Since this guest checkout date was for a later date, so while right clicking, we did not get the option of checkout. So now we'll scroll down. In order to do an early checkout for this guest, just click on the guest name. When you scroll down, you will see the option of early checkout. So when I use the option of early checkout, see, these are the guests staying, Martin, Shania, and Helen. That is what was also mentioned in the scenario here. So we'll just use the option of early checkout. And using the option of early checkout, we'll check out all the guests of this unit. So this redirected us to this page, and we'll just use the option of express checkout. The system will ask for a confirmation, and now the checkout is done. Now, the next part of the scenario says that checkout is completed, which we've done, but now the mother and the daughter decided to change their mind and they want to continue their stay. So now the checkout that we have done, right, we need to rectify that. So we'll go back to our front desk, look for the reservation. The reservation was basically for Mr. Martin, right? So we'll just right click, you will see the option of cancel checkout. So as soon as I click on the option of cancel checkout, you will notice that the reservation, okay, just give me a minute. Right, the reservation has again extended on the screen. Right, it has gone back to the original length of stay. So now what we need to do is we need to only check out Mr. Martin. because the other sharers will continue to extend their stay. So right click, we'll use the option of view details. Click on the option of enable editing to make any changes. Click on the unit, the guest name. And now since we need to check out only Mr. Martin, so we'll click on the option of Mr. Martin, use the option of early checkout, click on early checkout. This will redirect us to the account statement page. Here you will see the option of guest checkout. Now, if I use the option of checkout here, the entire reservation will check out, but that's not what we want to do. We want to check out only Mr. Martin because the other guest will continue to stay. So we'll remove the checkbox, sorry, from the remaining names and use the option of guest checkout. All right, so once this is done, the guest would have checked out. So once the scenario is done, we will move on to the next scenario, which is number 16. All right, so scenario number 16's objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to look up for the group under the company name, look up guest in the group, mark no-show, reinstate, do a night audit. And the scenario goes like this. It says that Mr. Joanne and Mr. Martin are part of a 5-unit group booked name of Coca-Cola in a 3-bedroom category for 5 nights. Both these guests do not show up on the day of check-in, but after 2 days, on the 3rd September, Mr. Martin arrives and would like to check in. How would you manage this? Please perform the above task in the system and write the comments below. All right, so first let's locate this reservation on the front desk, which is basically booked for a 3-bedroom category. Mr. Joanne. Okay, so this is basically booked for a 3-bedroom unit and under the name of Mr. Joanne. So I'll just look for the reservation here. Sorry, just give me a minute. So 3-bedroom category, and we look for Joanne's reservation here.
Okay. Pallavi, just a small thing. Okay, so now this reservation has been marked as a no-show. So you'll not be able to find this reservation on the screen. If you go to the cancelled list, you'll be able to find it there.
Okay, all right. So it basically says that
no-show, yeah.
Okay, I got it. So after 2 days, which is on the 3rd of September. So as you can see, currently we are on the 2nd. So we'll have to run one more night audit, and then we will be basically be performing the next part of the scenario. So let me just quickly do one more night audit. So the same process, we'll click on continue to night audit. Okay, I'll just click on ignore counters, click on continue to night audit. Right, and we'll click on the option of continue to work. All right, so going back to the scenario, it says that after 2 days, Mr. Martin arrives and would like to check in. So like Krishna correctly mentioned, now we had already done a no-show for these reservations. So in order to again find the reservation, we will have to go to our front desk. Under room operations, there is a report here which says cancelled reservation list. We'll click on that. Select the date range accordingly. And here we'll be able to see the reservations here, the ones that we had done a no-show for earlier. So it says that both these guests do not show up on the day of check-in, but after 2 days, Mr. Martin would like to check in. So here, as you can see, we have Martin's name here. This is the Coca-Cola group. So now when he says that he would like to check in, right? So so rather than recreating the reservation in the system, we can just use the option of reinstate. So when we click on the option of reinstate, the guest will be checked in on the current date. So even though the reservation was made from the 1st, the check-in will happen from today's date. So this is how we can do a reinstate. And the reservation will be back on the screen. All right. So moving on to the next scenario, which is the last scenario for the front desk scenario-based assignment. The objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to learn and perform the following, which is looking for the in-house reservation, verify guest details, and group checkout. Now the scenario goes like this, that a group of 3 units booking was checked in on the 1st of September 2021 in a 2-bedroom category. They would like to check out together on the 3rd September. What is the best way to manage this checkout? The guest details are as follows, which is Mr. Harry, Michael, and Jean. Their units are mentioned as this. So let's first of all locate this guest on the front desk. Now they are basically booked under these names. So let's look for their reservation. Now these are the guests, and it also happens to be their checkout date. So the best and the easiest way to check out is by just right-clicking. You can use the option of group checkout. And this will redirect you to the account statement page. We will just use the option of express checkout. And this is how easily we can check out the entire reservation. The system will ask for a confirmation. We'll just click on yes. This is the checkout card. And now you will notice that the color coding has changed from green to gray. So earlier they were occupied. Once the checkout happens, the color coding changes to indicate that the checkout has been done. So like this, we'll be able to finish. We've already finished all the scenarios from the the front desk section. And now we can proceed with the scenario-based questions from the housekeeping section. So before you move on to the assignments based on housekeeping, you have to ensure that you have seen these videos. So once you've done that, you will have the access to move on to the housekeeping scenarios. All right, so let's begin with the housekeeping scenarios. The first.
Before you do that, can you just reset this?
Okay.
Yeah, just scroll down, scroll down. So because that needs to be marked as completed.
Okay.
In case, for us to track it internally.
Okay, all right. Okay. So before you start off with the housekeeping scenarios, you will see that there are 10 questions that are there in the housekeeping section, and you will have 50 minutes time to complete this. So let's get started. All right. So moving on to the first scenario related to housekeeping, it says that the objective is, after completing this task, the user will be able to create and assign maintenance task, mark a unit DNR, and the scenario goes like this. Miss Karen, who is a HSP staff, notices that AC is very noisy of unit W2103, and she assigns the task to the maintenance team to fix the same. Later, the technician named Diane confirmed that this issue will take a day to resolve. So mark the unit as DNR, and what steps will you follow to manage this? So first of all, we'll go to housekeeping and assign this task to the maintenance department since the AC is noisy. So this is what your housekeeping console will look like. On the left-hand side, you will have the option of add task. You can click on this, and whatever task you need to assign. For example, in this case, it is AC noisy for unit W2103. So we'll go here. Since it's an internal request, we'll select the option of internal. Select the unit from the dropdown, which is 2103. Okay, just give me a minute. I'll just look for it. Okay, so I'll just select a room from here. We'll select the job type as maintenance since there is a problem with the AC. Select the job type as AC not working. And in the description, you can mention that the AC is noisy and click on OK. And this is how we will be able to assign a task to the housekeeping department. It also says that later the technician confirms that the issue will take longer to resolve. Now, since there is a problem in the room and it will take longer to resolve, we can mark this unit as DNR. So if in case you want to mark a room as DNR, it is very simple, W2103. So let me just look for this unit. We can just click on Control F and look for the unit here as 103. And this is where the unit is located. Now, in order to mark this room as DNR, just click on the checkbox, scroll up, and here you will see the option of DNR. So DNR also means out of order. So when you mark a unit as out of order, it means that it is not going to be available for sale for that particular day. So just click on DNR, click on Go, mention your date range here and put the comment here as AC noisy and submit. And now this unit will be marked as DNR. The same information will also get updated on your front desk. If you just refresh your screen here, the unit would have been marked as DNR here. And this can also be seen in the report section here on the left-hand side. If you click here, any room that has been marked as DNR will be visible here as well in the report section. All right. So once we are done with this assignment, we can just click on completed and move on to the next part, the next scenario, which is number 2. The objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to learn and perform the following, which is view unit status as per requirement, take a printout of units as per status, check audit trail. Now, this assignment has a beforehand task which needs to be performed, which is please mark unit W2104 and 2105 to dirty. So let's first of all perform this and then we will move on with the scenario. W2104 is what we need to locate. So I'll just use the search option again. Now these are the 2 units mentioned here, which says 2104, 2105 to dirty. So whenever you want to mark a particular unit as dirty, you can either do it one by one by using this option here, or if you want to do it in bulk, just select both the units, scroll up, select housekeeping status, drop down, change the status to dirty and click on go. And this will update the status in bulk. The next part says, okay, so the scenario goes like this. The housekeeping manager asks Miss Karen, who is the HSP staff, to share the list of clean units only, as she will inspect these units herself. Also, she would like to know the time of marking units W2104 and 2105 clean from dirty. So these 2 units that we had marked as dirty right now, we are again going to change the status and mark them as clean. So earlier I showed you how to do this in bulk. Let me show you how it can be done one by one as well. So like this, we'll just change the status here and do the same for W2105. Click on clean and save. And now the status has been changed. So moving back to the scenario, let me read that again. It says that the housekeeping manager asked Karen, who is the staff, to share the list of clean units only, as she would inspect the units herself. Now, whenever we are looking for units based on maybe the unit status, it is very simple to view that because you might have a large inventory. So we can use the filter option given on the side, which says view by. So we can just click on this and click on the option of clean because that is what the manager wants to see. And now the system will view the report accordingly. And you can also take a printout of this. The next part of the scenario says that she wants to know the timing of marking these units clean from dirty. Now, in a system, right, it is very important that the system should be able to tell you who has made what changes. So in our housekeeping module, you have the option of audit trail located at two different places. One is on the right-hand side, top here, and one is on the left-hand side. When you click on any of these two reports, the system will tell you exactly on what date, at what time, by which user, the status of a particular room was changed. So we'll be able to see it here that it was done at 1:22 by Pallavi. So once we're done with this scenario, we will just click on the option of completed and move on to the next scenario, number 3. Now, the objective of this scenario is that after completing the task, the user will be able to assign units to staff in bulk, enter information in the remarks column, and the third part is mark discrepancy. So this is how the scenario goes. It says, HSP manager assigns all the units on the second floor to Mr. Michael. He will be responsible for cleaning all these units. The supervisor also informs him that unit number W203 needs extra water to be placed in the unit. Now, while cleaning the unit W203, the HSP staff notices that there are 3 adults and 1 child in the unit instead of 2 adults and 1 child as per the front desk occupancy report shows. How do you manage this scenario? So let's break the scenario into parts. The first part says that the manager assigns all the units on the second floor to Michael Douglas. So whenever you want to assign staff to a particular floor, all you have to do is, again, use the filter. You can filter this on the basis of the floors as well. So we are looking at second floor. Now, all these units on the second floor need to be assigned to Michael. So we'll just okay, just give me a minute. All right, so Krishna, any idea why this is? Okay, I'll just refresh my screen and let me try this again.
I'm just sorry, can you show me what's the scenario?
No, I just need to select the second floor from here.
Yeah. Search, click on search, go. There's an option to go, right? Yeah.
No, it's filtering as per the floor, right?
Yes, I think the search is not happening. Just refresh your screen.
Right, so I'll just try that again. We'll just select the second floor from here. Yeah, now it's working. We need to assign all these to Michael Douglas. So we'll just select Michael's name from here and assign the unit. And like this, all these units on the second floor will be assigned to Michael Douglas. The next part of the scenario says, now, while the supervisor also informs him that unit W203 needs extra water. So let's filter and find out where this unit is, W203. Control F, W203. So this is the unit. Now, this guest needs extra water as well. Yes, extra water needs to be placed in this unit. So we'll just enter in the remarks column, extra water, and save it. That was another part of the scenario. The next part says, right, it says that there is a discrepancy in what the housekeeping staff is saying in terms of the people staying in the room and what the front office is saying. As per front office, there are 2 adults and 1 child, whereas as per housekeeping staff, they've noticed 3 adults and 1 child. So let us update the same thing in the system, unit W03. Right, so Control F, I'll look for this unit on my system here. Now, as you can see, there is a plus sign here, which says add discrepancy. So we're just going to click on this. Now, as you can see, the front office occupancy says 2 adults and 1 child, and the housekeeping says there are 3 adults and 1 child. So this is how we will be able to update the discrepancy here and click on add. And this information can be viewed by the front desk staff also. Right, so once we are done with the scenario, we'll just click on completed and move on to the next part, which is scenario number 4. The objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to take a unit out of order and view audit trail report. Now, there is also a beforehand task mentioned here, which says, please mark unit W1704 as DNR for 10 days. So let's locate this unit and mark it as DNR W1704. So this is the unit. We need to mark it as DNR. So just click on the checkbox here, scroll up, use the option of DNR like shown earlier, click on go, select your date range from here for how many days you wish to take the room out of order. And the reason that we need to mention, okay, it's just a beforehand task wherein we need to mark this room as DNR and click on submit. Right, so we've marked this unit as DNR. Now the next part of the scenario says that the housekeeping staff by mistake marked unit W1704 as DNR. The housekeeping manager asked the housekeeping supervisor to bring her a report as she would like to know which staff did this. She also wants to know what time this action was performed. Which report will you refer to and what steps will you follow to generate this report? Now, like I mentioned earlier, we have the option of audit trail located on the screen at 2 different places. So whenever you want to know what changes have been made in the system, you can just click on audit trail, right? We also have filters here. So if I'm looking for only DNR related units, just select this, click on search, and here you will be able to see who has marked this unit as DNR, which staff was it, what time was it performed, the information will reflect here. All right, so once we are done with the scenario, we will just click on completed and move on to the next scenario, number 5. Now, the objective of this scenario is that after completing this, the user will be able to view arrival reports and take a print, view notes and preferences related to a unit. And the scenario goes like this. Housekeeping manager wants a report of all the arrivals for the day with special preference and request by any guest. Which report and step will you follow? So just like front desk, even the housekeeping people would like to know about the preferences that a particular guest has, because they might have to prepare units accordingly. So for this, all we have to do is go to the housekeeping module. On the left-hand side, you will have this report which says today's check-in. Just click on this. All the preferences and the notes have been mentioned in this column here. A printout of this report too can be taken and used accordingly. So this is how simple it is to solve this scenario. Just click on complete once you're done and move on to the next scenario. The next scenario is number 6, which says the objective is after completing this task, the user will be able to raise discrepancy, enter remarks. Now here the scenario goes like this. A housekeeping staff informs the HSP manager in unit W1505 that there are 3 adults and 1 child. The front desk occupancy says there are 2 adults and 1 child. Also, the housekeeping staff mentions that there is very little luggage. So basically this guest is a scanty baggage. And the next part says the HSP manager informs housekeeping staff to make a note of all the things in the system to take the necessary action. How to manage this? So just like before, the first thing that we need to do here is we need to raise a discrepancy, and along with the discrepancy, we also need to enter a remark. So let's first of all locate this unit in housekeeping, which is W1505. 1505. So this is the unit where it is occupied and we need to raise a discrepancy here. So just click on the plus sign here, which says add discrepancy. It already shows you the front office status, which is 2 adult and 1 child. We need to update the housekeeping part of it. So housekeeping says 3 adults and 1 child. They also say that there is very little luggage in the unit. So we need to enter this in the discrepancy remarks column and add it here. And this information will get updated on our system as well. So this is how we can solve this scenario. So once it is done, let's move on to the next part. So the next scenario is number 7. And the objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to mark a unit out of service, change housekeeping status. And the scenario goes like this. HSP staff, while cleaning the unit W206, notice that 2 bulbs are fused and inform the same to the engineering department. After replacing the bulb, the HSP manager will inspect the room before marking it ready for check-in. How do you manage this scenario? So the main purpose in this scenario is this, that we need to mark unit W206 as out of service. Now, since the staff has noticed 2 bulbs fused, now bulb fused is a very minor problem. For this, we do not have to take a room out of order, but we can take a unit out of service till the time the bulbs are rectified. So let's see how we can do this. Again, we will just first of all locate this unit, which is W206. W206. And here we've located it. We will click on the unit, scroll up. From the drop-down section, we can use the option of out of service. Click on go. So select the unit, scroll up, use the option of out of service, click on go. And the unit will be marked as out of service. Yes, it is out of service. Until the times the bulbs are rectified, we can leave it as out of service. Now we've taken the room out of service, but the same information needs to be passed to the engineering department. So just like before, we will use the option here of add task. Since it's an internal complaint, we will select internal, select the unit as W206. Just give me a minute. Yes, W206, and select the job type as maintenance. Mention what is the problem in the unit, which is 2 bulb fused, and you can just click on OK. Now this is related to bulb, right? So we can just select the option here as bulb not working and then click on OK. And this information will be passed on to the maintenance department. So once we are done with this scenario, we will just click on complete it and move on to the next part. That is scenario number 8. Now this scenario already has a beforehand task, as you can see. So let's perform that. And then I'll take you ahead with the scenario. It says, please mark unit W603 as dirty. So W603 as dirty. So this is the unit. Just click on the status here, change it to dirty and save it. All right. The next part of the scenario goes like this. The HSP staff called the desk to mark unit W603 clean. The housekeeping desk in charge changed the status accordingly. Now, HSP manager went to check the unit, and after some time, the HSP manager calls the housekeeping desk and mentions that this unit is now ready for check-in. Please update the same in the system for both cases by selecting the right housekeeping status. So first of all, the beforehand task was to mark it dirty. The second part says that we need to mark this unit as clean. So same process, locate the unit, change the status from here to clean. Right, it's clean. And the next part of the scenario says that the HSP manager went to check the unit. So which means the manager has already checked the unit. And now the status needs to be changed because the room is now ready for sale. So like mentioned earlier, a unit can only be sold on inspected status, right? So we'll just change the status from here to inspected. And now it is ready for sale. So once the scenario is done, just click on completed. And let's move on to the next part, which is scenario number 9. And the objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to mark unit clean and mark unit touch-up. Like before, there is a beforehand task here as well, which says, please mark unit W903 as dirty. So we'll go back, select the unit 903, and it says mark the unit as dirty. Same process, just from the drop-down, select dirty and save it. And now it is updated here. Now it says, the scenario goes like this. Housekeeping staff calls the desk and informs that he has serviced unit W903. He also informs the desk to put the unit number W904 and W905 on touch-up as he will be going to the unit for cleaning. So please update the same in the system for both cases. So we had earlier marked this unit as dirty. Now the housekeeping staff calls and informs that he has serviced it. So when a housekeeping staff is done with servicing the room, the status changes to clean. And when the supervisor checks it, it becomes inspected. So let's again put this unit on clean, which is W903. Just drop down and change this to clean and save it. The next part says that we need to take unit W904 and 905 as touch-up. So 904 and 905, they're already on touch-up. Otherwise, from the drop-down, we could have selected and made them touch-up. So once this is done, we will just click on completed and move on to the last scenario from the housekeeping section, wherein the objective is that after completing this task, the user will be able to mark unit as house use. And the scenario goes like this. Housekeeping manager informs the desk to mark the unit W605 as house use, as the general manager will be staying tonight due to the conference happening related to the tournament in the hotel. Right. So whenever a unit is being used for hotel purpose, such units need to be marked as house use. So in this case, we need to mark unit W605 as house use. So I'll just quickly find the unit. Now, when we want to mark this unit as house use, just select the unit, scroll up from the drop down, select the status as house use, click on go. And in this, you can just mark, you can just enter the comments here and click on submit. And this is how we'll be able to mark a unit as house use. And once you're done with this, make sure that you click on complete and enter this here and click on submit. So with this, we come to the end of the housekeeping and front desk scenario.